1 to 3, Sweet 16.
How's it going today for y'all, everybody? I want to say hi and thank you to all of my viewers and subscribers. This is Learn 123, and today we're going to talk about this beautiful hunting relic made by Stevens Firearms Company. So this is a Stevens Model 530A double-barreled side-by-side in 16 gauge. This appears to be a single trigger model, or it was modified at some time. This is an heirloom in my family. This belonged to my great-grandfather. The day my son shot this weapon has been fired by men in my family for 5 generations. You just gotta love a Sweet 16. So, a little bit of information about this weapon. It's got some beautiful engraving I'm going to show you later. Not exactly $1,000 engraving, but it does have engraving of a bird dog pointing in the grass here. I cannot find a serial number anywhere on this weapon. I believe when my grandfather wanted to hunt with this on federal land and bring it to the veteran ranges on post, he had to have it serialized in some way, which is probably why his social security number is etched into this firearm. So I'm going to show you a few things about this weapon today, how to take it apart for, I would say, sporadic maintenance. It still fires, cycles like a champ. And I'll just kind of show you some of the features of this weapon today. And then we'll get into a field strip. So, where should we begin? From what I can tell, this weapon was manufactured from 1936 to 1954, which explains why it does not have a serial number, because this came out before the Gun Control Act, GCA 1968, which required all firearms on the American market manufactured and imported to have a serial number. So that explains it. So where do we start with showing off some of the features? It's pretty bare bones, pretty simple, elegant weapon from a more civilized day. This is a great bird gun. It's a great skeet shooting gun as well. This weapon is going to fire the right side barrel first and the left side barrel second. There is not a way to fire both barrels, but a cool thing about a 16 gauge is it doesn't break the stock nearly as often as firing both barrels in a 12 gauge. So if I ever wanted to make this thing fire both barrels, then I probably wouldn't have any problems. So we've got a slide type safety. That's safety off, safety on, okay? And you'll notice when you open the barrels, which you push to the right, push this lever to the right, that it does not eject the shells out. So if you have one of these, don't think that your weapon's broken because it doesn't throw the shells out. You actually have to pull them out with your fingers, okay? Closes, nice snap. Now what I want you to do is watch this safety when I open and close this weapon. So I'm going to take the safety off and I'm going to open it. Oh, you see that? Watch that safety move when I turn this bar to the right. It puts it back on safe before you can even open the barrels. So that's a neat safety feature about this weapon. They come bone stock with chokes, with a different choke on each barrel. I believe it is cylinder choke on the right and a modified choke on the left side barrel. You've got double bead sights on twin 26-inch barrels. Oh, had a trigger discipline issue there. And we've got some etchings and stuff I'm going to show you in a minute. And then we'll get into the field strip. So this weapon will only fire 2 3/4 inch shells. So I'm going to show you where that's actually stamped on it, which probably precedes the law on these matters. But Stevens was just a great firearms company. And so you can see, if I can get good lighting here, 2 3/4 inch only chamber. This is not designed for firing slugs. It is proof tested. And we can see this stamp here says selected forged steel. Right here. Selected forged steel is what that says. Right here, I don't know if you can see it. It says Stevens Savage Arms Corporation, Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts, USA. And we can see this engraving, bird dog pointing in the grass. Looks kind of like a golden retriever or maybe a setter of some type. And we've got some checkering on the grips. It's unclear to me whether this came from the factory with this checkering or if this was done after purchase at some point. And I don't know if this butt pad here was stock or if this was aftermarket, but if it was aftermarket, it's attached beautifully, masterfully. All right, so let's talk about how to take this gun apart now. So the first thing we do with any weapon before taking it apart is make sure that it is not loaded. So what you're going to do is you're going to close the barrels up. You don't have to hammer any pins out. And these break actions, I mean, you can fire black powder rounds through them. And yeah, that's more corrosive, dirtier on your gun, but it'll function fine. You can actually fire those black powder shells. So like end of the world gun, these break actions are great when you have limited availability of powder in mind. The trigger breaks very crisp. So here's how we take it apart. You actually are going to pull with downward pressure on this foregrip right here. Be very careful as these guns are so old, you don't want them to break. And so that will snap out of here. So this weapon has a block and a spring-loaded lever right here. This comes right out. This is under spring pressure here. You can see the spring working. And when you reassemble, you're going to put this back, but the barrels will actually come off in this condition. Be very careful. And it'll just rotate right off of there, okay? And then you can clean all of these guts or oil them, but it's really not going to be necessary that often on a weapon like this because pretty much the only thing that gets dirty is the barrel and this bolt face here. It has concealed hammers, so that's cool. And it's not much of a trick to get it back together. You just line up this lug, okay, into this hole right here. Okay, you're going to put that in first. And you're going to make sure that that spring-loaded lever that retains, okay, it pretty much holds the whole gun together. This fore end and that spring-loaded lever and this block here retain the whole gun together in one piece. And you just pop it back in. Now, it might give you a little bit of a headache, okay? A big deal here when reassembling this part is the orientation of this part because that affects how much force is going to be required, but it should snap back into place. You don't have to go gorilla tight on it. Is that it snaps right back into place. If you have to put anything that feels like excessive force here, then you're probably doing it wrong. This is the Stevens Savage Model 530 Sweet 16 side-by-side. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click that like button, click that subscribe button. If you have any comments or questions, use that comment section at the bottom. And have a nice day. Check back for new videos every Friday.
What about the free Sweet 16?